Stop what you're doing. I know what you're going to do. You're actually going to start working on your vision board right now, or you already did it and it's not where it needs to be. So I need everyone to focus and stop right here. Check this out, guys. Today we're going to go over how to actually get an effective vision board up on your wall and actually working for you, and the techniques and strategies and how to create it so it actually works. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people putting things up on the wall and some magically it happens, or they say the affirmations and suddenly the car disappears in their driveway. It doesn't exactly work like that. What really works is there's a lot of cool small nuances in it. But before I get into too much details, I make sure I want everyone to like and like this post. We're going to get out there as much as possible, help the algorithms, and feel free to comment as much as possible. If you guys are watching this on live right now, I want you to type in live in the chats right now. If you're watching this on replay, hit replay, or not hit replay, message replay, so I know where you're watching it from. And for those of you watching live, make sure to come in and bring your questions. Start filling the chat even right now. If you got questions for anything that's going on, anything going on, going around with affirmations or vision board, whatever it may be, go ahead and put it in the chat and I'll get to them as we kind of go in and talk. So I want it to be as interactive as. Can you guys hear me okay? I realized my microphone was way over there. Can you guys hear me okay now? Hopefully everything's all right. Live, I love it. Okay. Well, apparently you guys were able to hear me because you responded to my message, so I appreciate that. All right, awesome. Okay. Phenomenal. Where did you... Oh, where did I go to get my hair done? That's a good question, Nick. Nicholas, it's a good question. So I just... Mother Nature does most of my hair. Just make sure, it falls out most of the time, so it's fine. Appreciate it. Thanks for bringing it up. Hurts my feelings. Just kidding. No, I love it. Okay. Now, to the moment at hand, or the subject at hand. I'm just getting over a cold, guys, so I may be a little bit off, but that's okay. One thing I want us to talk about first is why affirmations, vision boards actually work. And the thing is, if you're just putting something up on your wall, you're just saying things a couple times in the morning, there's more to it. You can't just do that. There's no magic involved. A lot of times when you do things correctly, it appears like it was magic. It appears like this thing just happened out of nowhere, but in reality, it's not magic. There's a lot of science behind it, and we're going to talk about that right now. And then once I go into more detail as far as how this actually works, as far as our brains and science, then I'll give you the techniques and strategies how to implement them in your vision board / plus your affirmations if you want to go that route too. We're definitely pretty awesome. Okay. Our brains it's incredible what our brains are. And something you have to think when people have a concept of a brain, you think, oh, well, that's me. That's just my consciousness. And to a certain point, it's true, but it's also an organ. And the consciousness is in your brain, but that's not the majority of your brain is your consciousness of your conscious self. Most of what goes on is done subconsciously. You don't think about having to beat your heart. You don't think about moving this tendon, this muscle for me to do this action. I just do this and it happens. My brain has to put signals down into this particular muscle to pull forward to move my hand up this way. My heart beats nonstop, 24/7, hopefully. I don't think about that. I don't think about growing hair, obviously. I don't think about, all of those things we don't think about at all. In fact, with the 2%, of our brain is counts for 2% of our body mass. 2%, that's it. But our brain uses 20% of our energy that we consume. 20% of every taco you eat goes to your brain. Your brain uses that energy. So this little 4-pound gray matter that's in our heads uses 20% of all of our energy, even though it's like it's one of the smallest organs. Well, not the smallest organs, but you get my point, right? When you're looking at the ratio wise, it's pretty insane. So it's important to understand that our brains, there's a lot to it that we don't see on the back skirts. And our brains are designed, or whether it's evolution or through God or however you want to look at it, but it's designed to keep us alive, but not happy. That's your conscious. If you want to be happy, that's your conscious. It's designed to keep us alive. So we have like the gray matter over, and that's kind of like more of like our cognitive, our thinking, and then we have like what they call like a crocodile brain, which is the part underneath the gray matter, and that's a filter of everything. So this is just the fear response, this pleasure seeking, the pain running, so it's gonna prompt me to go towards pleasure, run away from pain. So that's it. It's like the crocodile brain, because they call it like that because if you just cut that out and you compared it to a crocodile brain, it's very, very similar. That's why they call or the reptile brain, or whatever you want to call it, right? So the amazing part about that is once you realize that your brain is actually an organ, and your conscious is only the front part, or only a portion of it, a very small portion of it. And just to give you a point and why all this stuff works, I want everyone to right now think about what their shirt and how it feels on their skin. So when I can feel my shirt, my shoulder can feel the shirt, right? But it wasn't telling me, I wasn't feeling that before until I put attention to it. Does that make sense? Like same with my pants. I can put attention to my pants, and then I can feel the fabric on my skin. But before I put attention to it, I didn't notice that fabric. Okay? So the you guys get where I'm coming from? So like right now, my skin, my sensory receptors, they are nonstop telling my nervous system into my brain that, hey, something's touching me. Hey, something's touching me. It's still touching me. It's still touching me. Hey, it's still touching me. That's what's going on in my skin right now. And it's going in our brain nonstop. Our brain will there's a lot of studies that are showing that our brain will ignore 90 to 99% of every input that it receives. And thank heavens it does that, because we would go insane if every single second you felt every itch, everything that would come in, everything that we would look at, everything we'd see. That's why I think, I'm not sure about this, but as far as I understand, like that's autism people have that challenge because they don't ignore as much information as everyone else. And so that's why loud noises, crowded people, it overwhelms them because their brain's not ignoring everything. It's just putting a lot more information than the average person's getting. And so that's why it really messes with how they react and how they would perceive things. So thank heavens our brains do ignore so much. However, because our brains ignore so much, it only brings attention to our consciousness of things that we deem important. So I know everyone here has ever gotten a car. Tell me, put in the chat if you've experienced this before, okay? If you got in a car, you bought a new car. I got my Tesla, okay? Bought the Tesla, awesome. I was driving down the road, and suddenly I was like, dude, there's a lot of Teslas out here. There's even the same model I got. This is the same car. And I'm just driving, and it's like those cars didn't just suddenly appear. They were always there. I just noticed them. Who's experienced that? When they got a new car, suddenly they know on the road. Just put me if you've noticed that. If you've noticed that when you bought a new car, you got a new shirt, you got a new outfit, new shoes, whatever it is, suddenly you start to notice that everyone else is wearing. There's so much more of that than you realize to very begin with. When I first started real estate investing, we would do something called driving for dollars, and so one strategy is to go look for distressed properties, so properties that have boarded up windows and long grass and bad roofs, and so we contact the owners so they want to sell. Before I started to actually start doing that, I didn't think, like, when someone told me that strategy to drive around looking for this type of properties, I'm like, there's no way. I've never seen those type of houses anywhere. That's just the biggest waste of time ever. And out of like desperation / curiosity, I was like, fine, I'm gonna go look. And then I did that, and I realized how many there were. And then after I started to do that consistently, I would see those type of houses all over. Even if I wasn't looking for them, it would pop up. Those distressed properties didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They didn't just exist because magically, even though it may appear though, even appear so, right? All right, I'm glad. Okay, good. You got Daniel, Laura, Nicholas. Okay, a bunch of you, Dean. Awesome. So you've all experienced the same thing with the car. So that's the point. We really need to hone in on the vision boards, and I'm going to get into the nitty gritty, like how to build it. But I really want you to understand why this works and why you need to do it a certain way for it to work. Okay. So when you make something important in your brain, suddenly you'll start seeing opportunities. If I say, using affirmations as an example, you know, I am a successful real estate investor. I close 3 deals a month. Um, and if I had that affirmation in me, I keep saying that I am this, I am this, and then my brain's gonna, okay, this is something that's important, and so suddenly I'm gonna start noticing opportunities that I would have not noticed before. Again, it's not magic; it's just you were just ignoring it before. So, like in a crowded room, I hear someone say real estate, or like, oh man, I'm thinking about moving. Like, what? And in a crowded room, you don't hear those things, but things you're interested in, you'll pick up on them. Or something comes up, it's like, or someone messages you, and or maybe you're putting out posts that you wouldn't normally put out, or you just put a little different things that you don't notice, but you're putting things out differently. The different you're coming to you're coming to the world in a different state, a different vibration, because you are like I'm a successful real estate investor, as opposed to like, ah man, that'd be really cool if I start getting some deals. I'm going to come to the world a little bit differently. I'm going to come in, straight back and ready to go. If that's something that I believe, which I'm going to go into more of like self identity, which is pretty big. But what we're talking about, like just uh, the base, how the basics of the brain works, right? Um. Oh, the star. Yeah. So Dean's asking about the stars. It's just it's a donation kind of thing. You don't I It's always there for if you have so many followers, and you can actually start receiving stars if you're making content and so on. But that's just like basically giving money to creators. I'm not asking for any of that stuff, so don't worry about the stars. um I'll put in jokes in there, like I think I have a boat fund joke in there, so but that's about it. Okay, so anyways, but great question, that's fine. Okay. um okay, Nicholas, I'm gonna read your comment here. So Nicholas puts on here Matthew 7:7. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. I can't remember the scripture, but Jesus also said, he's quoted to say that ask as if, when you're asking for something, ask as if you've already received it. Ask if you're already knowing that you've received it. So even in praying, like we should assume they already get it, right? That's really good. I like that. Thanks, Nicholas. Appreciate it. I love this stuff, right, guys? I really do love this stuff. So to can all of the BS as far as it's magical, it's not magical. It just seems like magic. And something else that I need addressed is our self identity. So because our brain, it uses 20% of our energy, it develops things to make it easier, pathways, and we call them as habits, right? So there's habits that we have, and we don't have to think about. We don't have to consciously think about when I'm brushing my teeth. I just do in the morning. I wake up and I start brushing my teeth, right? That's just a habit. I don't think about it. I just do it. Now, because it's a habit, it takes less energy for us to think about it and actually do. So there's a self identity that we have. I wake up and I brush, and the self identity and habits are kind of combined here in this aspect. So it's saving energy, right? And so that's why, I mean, we're doing things, we're constantly, we do things again and again and again, and that's why a lot of times people they have goals this new year, they set new goals, but then they fall into their old habits because your brain is like, wait, that's going to use more energy than I would if I didn't. So I'm just going to we're just going to do our normal habits. We know this line's already set. This line's already set for us. We're good here. Again, our brain's not The brain's job is not to keep us happy, but to keep us safe. And sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. That's kind of the aspect of it, right? So to change our habits, it does kind of become a challenge. Another thing is self-identity. Self-identity is huge when you're changing who you are and you're doing things you've never done before. I'm sure. Tell me in the comments if you've experienced this. When you set a new goal, that's kind of scary. So, for example, I'll get to your okay. Thanks. So when I first got into real estate, before I got into real estate, right? And even after, right? It took me a year to quit my job, but I was a Walmart associate. I was a Walmart manager for 12 years. I basically just like I graduated high school, went on I served a 2 year mission for my religion. I went to Mexico and preached about Jesus Christ for 2 years, and then I came back, and then I met the love of my life, and I got married, and then I started working at Walmart like at 23, and I worked there for 12 years, and so like that was my career. That's that's the all experience I really have as far as an adult goes. And so when my wife and I decided to go this route of real estate investing, when you do a new goal, your brain will go into your past and it'll start saying like, okay, Jared, you've never done anything like this before. So this is going to be a waste of time. This is a waste of energy. There's potential danger ahead of you. And so what does my brain do? I'm grateful that my brain tries to protect me, thank goodness. But what your brain will do is you start hearing those voices in your head. My voices tell me to burn things. No, I'm just kidding. They don't. I'm just kidding. No, but you hear voices in your head of doubts, like, oh, you can't do this. Oh, the market's bad. Oh, but you really don't know what you're doing. Sure, Nicholas is successful in real estate, but he's Nicholas. He's not like you're Jared. I know how many times you screwed up. Now, keep in mind, your brain has been with you your entire life. It knows every single thing you tried to do and failed, and it knows what you're good at, and it knows what you've done in the past. So your brain understands it's been there. You can't lie to your brain. It's there. And so that's when you start hearing those things. Those thoughts that come in, they're not necessarily you. They're not really your consciousness. Those are just thoughts that come in. And so that's when a lot of times people, when they start doing those things, they get pulled back by their brain, by their subconscious. Because guess what? Where you were is safe. For 12 years, you were alive, Jared. We want to keep you alive. We don't know. I mean, it might be better. I don't know, but we're going to keep you back here. And so that's why the affirmations / vision boards are a way to recreate your identity, to recreate your experiences. And so when you're thinking of a memory, they've done scans where people think of memories. It's not like a video. It's not like you're sitting in a screen and you're rewatching your Christmas and your 12th when you're 12 years old and you're opening your favorite Christmas present. That's not the case. Every time we think of a memory, we actually recreate that memory in our brains. So when I'm remembering of my grandmother walking down the stairs, for example, when I was a kid, or last week, or 5 minutes ago, whatever. When I remember my grandma walking down the stairs, the visual part of my brain is activated when I'm remembering that. So the visual part of my brain is actually recreating that same memory. That's why you hear a lot of times where people, you thought you left it there, but you really didn't. Or like there are so many small details that you guarantee you remember seeing or hearing. They've done studies where they've literally done studies where they would tell, like, there's a family story that always happens. Like, they're always talking about Uncle Joe and how he fell through the trampoline or whatever. And they tell the story so many times that you created that memory. And they had people, like, that were never there would swear that they were there and they remember seeing Uncle Joe fall through the trampoline. So they, just using Uncle Joe falling trampoline as an example, right? But they believed and they remembered something that never happened nor existed. Let that sink in there for a minute, guys. They believed they were there and present. So one of the purposes of vision board / affirmations is to create and construct a new identity for yourself. You're going to create past experiences that have never happened, but because it's the same imagery, the same parts of your brain to imagine something is the same as remembering something. Use the same. If I am imagining now, I'm imagining Thomas Edison walking down the stairs instead of my grandma. Okay, so I'm gonna imagine that I'm gonna see Thomas Edison, and he's gonna walk down the stairs, and so my brain does not know the difference between that imagination and the actual memory. It's the same thing. And think about something. Once you've done something hard, everyone's done something hard. Who's here has done something hard? Put in the chats, I've done something hard. That way, that may be misconstrued. Challenging. Let's put challenging. Yeah. I want people to know innuendos there. But if you put in the chat that if you've done something challenging, okay, and once you've done it, when you had to do it again, it wasn't as scary. It was easier the second time. It was easier the 4th, 5th, 100th time. Who's ever experienced that? Who's ever experienced that? Yeah, habits are crazy. Yes, Nicholas, another great, and I was actually going to suggest that same book. So Nicholas suggests you guys a book called Atomic Habits. Grab it, read it. I've listened to it because I'm an audiobook guy. If I sit down and read, like, it knocks me out. But I listened to that book at least 3 times, maybe even more, and it's a phenomenal book. Phenomenal. A lot of the stuff that I'm actually talking about here is gonna some of it's gonna be revolved around some stuff I learned from that book. So, absolutely, guys. Atomic Habits. I've done some hard challenges. So thanks, Brandon. Yeah, absolutely. So we have all experienced those things, and we've all had those challenges. But once we've done it, it's not as hard. We don't get as much pushback from our brain. Like, once I jumped over that ravine, or once I've swung on that rope, it's like, okay, it's not as scary now. And remember how I was telling you, our brains will, like, when I was starting real estate, my brain was saying all of these things that why this wouldn't work. Then once I did a few deals, and then those voices stopped, or at least they were quieted. And so that's what you want to do, creating these visions. And this is what affirmations do, but they have to be done in the right way to actually create these type of these moments, right? Love it, guys. I love you guys. Okay. Yep. I tend to forget that when I'm facing new okay, yeah, I like that. So Daniel puts on here, and I'm reading your comment here, bud. But yeah, yes, but I think I tend to forget that when I'm facing a new challenge. I think that's true for most of us, to be honest. You know, if one of the things that, a side note, one of the things that when I do come up with some of the challenge, I try to, not always, but I try to remember the things that I've done that was a challenge for me, and I've like overcome it, and then it doesn't seem so scary, right? Okay. So any questions so far? Put in the chat if you have any questions about kind of what we talked about so far and the brain and how it works. And then let's get into some of the nitty gritty as far as like vision boards, how to create them, where should you have them, what kind of things should you put on them, and all that fun stuff, right? Let's get into the actual nitty gritty tactics. Yeah, I love that you guys are sharing some of these experiences. It's amazing. Kevin, yeah, touching electrical panel screw to be shocked now just gets into the panel with no worries. Yep. That's exactly right. And look, it's got some really good stories here. Yep. The first time you did a private loan. Oh yeah, I bet it was. It was embarrassing because it wasn't really ready as you thought. Yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? That's fine. Maybe embarrassing, but it's worth it for sure. Okay. So putting questions in there, and I'm going to start, but we can go back and answer those questions as they come through. So putting your questions or other comments you guys have about what we talked about with how the brain works, if it need to kind of understand why that's important. Because here's the thing, the same with habits and how they're connected with your identity, it's trying to save energy. If I, as my identity is, I'm a Walmart associate and I'm a dad of 3, anything that goes outside of the identity, I can just ignore. And so I can just focus on these things. And so again, our brain doesn't want us to intake all this information. If my identity is this, then it can ignore everything else. You've experienced with someone when you're learning something new, and they start talking, you try to categorize it all the time. That's what our brains, we categorize everything. Oh, he's talking about affirmation. Oh, yeah. I already know that. And then the second you say that, your brain, everything that person's saying or you're reading or whatever, you shut down. They could be dropping tons of knowledge bombs and things that you never thought about before in that same. But the second you say, I already know that stuff. It's crazy to me when I'm talking to people about real estate and they're like, oh yeah, I already know about creative financing. Like, do you? Have you done creative financing? Well, no. Do you know what paperwork you need to use? Do you know how to actually talk to someone to actually get it? But you can do it. Okay, why haven't you done it? Well, and so then I get like kind of, that shocked face, or caught in the headlight look, like, well, I don't know. Okay, so maybe you don't know. Is it fair to say they may not know everything you need to know to actually do it? Yeah, because they've seen some YouTube videos, they understand the concept of it, and that's good. But do you really know how to do it? Do you really? So they and no fault to them. I'm not trying to disparage anybody. Don't misunderstand me. But that's just a human response. I've seen 3 YouTube videos about it. I already know about it. What are you talking? I'm saving energy. Brain shuts it off. It's the brain did it, not them. The brain shut them off. They didn't need to. So be careful when you say, I already know that. Be very, very careful. But that's the whole point. So that's your identity. That's why it's important to kind of shift those things over. Okay. Yeah, awesome. Let's go. Love it, love it, love it. With your vision, with your board, there's a couple, and people had some really, really good questions. Okay. There are certain studies, certain things which you can put on the vision board. And I say vision board instead of dream board. I know it gets used synonymous, but when I have a dream, it's not tangible. It's out in space. It's there. When I have a dream of having Fabio's luscious hair, if those who know Fabio is, they're probably my age. But you know what I mean? I have a dream of having that. And I could, there's surgeries and things like that, or wigs or whatever. Absolutely, there's things like that. But as far as things I'm willing to do or want to do or even have enough energy to do, like, yeah, I would love to have, that's just a dream, the fantasy. But when I put on vision board, it needs to be something that I can accomplish. It could be the same thing. If I had a dream board and put the beautiful hair, and then I put the beautiful hair on my vision board, I'm going to visualize myself with that hair. And maybe that means that I'm going to go to get hair transplant or try Rogaine again or whatever. I don't know. It could be a number of those things. So it's the difference between the same spot, but different. The words are powerful how you use them because there's different meanings to them. Okay. So vision boards are huge. Okay. Hey, Dean has a question here. So new identity question. So you're saying that if visualize me being successful, my brain can look at that and see it was in my past and it can become reality. Did I understand that right? Yes, absolutely. And it's not just visualizing. You need to have emotion behind it. If you don't have emotion behind, and anything you put in the vision board, if you cannot put emotion behind that and actually feel what it feels like, not to visualize you, oh yeah, one day I'm going to be no. Today, right now, in this moment, I am a millionaire. Whatever. Or I am the real estate investor that just closed his 200th deal. I am, and then you think, how would it, when you're visualizing it, you're thinking like, how would it feel if that happened right now? If that happened, if someone just dropped $1 million, I'm just throwing random stuff out here, but if someone just dropped $1 million in my bank account right now, and I just looked, and I'm looking at my bank statement on my phone, and it says the one with all the zeros behind it, how would I feel? Like, what would that make me feel? What kind of emotions does that stir up? Like, what would you like does it relieve stress? Does that add excitement of what you could do? Like, how would you feel when you're telling your spouse about the new deposit that just happened? How would it feel about, when you're taking the kids to doing all these amazing things of being that millionaire or being that real estate investor that closed this 200th deal or whatever it is, right? So that is creating, and the more detail you put into it, the more real it's going to be. But in a nutshell, Yes, Dean, 100%. Okay. Um. All right. Perfect. Luscious. That's funny. Okay. So next question: how to create emotion without having experienced it? That is a that's a good question. And well, I mean, and that's a good question. So how do you create emotion if you haven't experienced it? Gratitude is a good way to start. When I haven't experienced I have not experienced $1 million in my bank account. Have not yet. But I remember how it felt when I had my first 100,000 in there, or when I had X amount when I closed my first deal, when I did X. And gratitude is an emotion that can't that is most effective in this whole strategy, and is most powerful to generate those type of emotions that you will receive. So just thinking, how grateful would you be? And you have to still your mind. And this is where meditation happens if you want to do that, if you have some hard time doing it. But this is why the visualization board is going to happen a lot. So I'll go more detail on that. I'm going to go, of course, if I go too deep into it, but we'll talk about it. Okay. Um, these are great questions, by the way. I love it. Okay. I think you just hit on it. Perfect. Awesome. Love it, guys. Thank you. Thanks for participation, first of all. I really do appreciate you guys for coming on, participating, and I love it. Okay. Now, with what should you put on your vision board? That's a question that people ask me a lot. There are quadrants that put on there, like where there's some science behind it. There's like money. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm looking at my cheat sheet here, but it's like money, your image, your spirituality, family, fitness, love, um, your education / career, hobbies, passion, fulfillment / travel. So you can have all of those categories in it. I'm not necessarily on that pathway as far as to preach that. What the reason why I say that, if it's something, if you're putting something on your vision board that doesn't have any emotional response to it, you're wasting your energy and time doing it. If my category is like for example, hobbies, or if hobbies is one, I kind of a nerd. I'm kind of boring in that aspect. I don't really have any habits or hobbies that I want to put any energy into, or even like having happen to me. I don't want to put it. There's nothing that really stokes any emotion. So by me forcing that hobby quadrant in there, it doesn't. It's just a waste, and it feels fake, and it goes against my identity that I have, and nor is it part of the identity that I want to have. Not to say there's nothing wrong with hobbies. It's just like, it's not. I don't care enough about it. I mean, I'm sure you get what I'm pointing. So sure, you can put in certain categories and things like that, absolutely. But if it doesn't strike those emotions, then I don't waste your time. Okay, if it's something you can potentially get excited about, don't do it. Just, I don't know. And other people will disagree with me, and that's fine. But that's just how I see it. So with your vision board, and here's the thing: you can have multiple vision boards. I think you should have it. Most of the stuff on there should be able to be completed or achieved within 90 days or within that year. And you can have like another vision board for your 5-year vision board or your 10-year vision board. You have multiple boards. I think that's fine. I think that's a great idea, actually. But the one that you're going to be focused on a daily basis needs to be the one that's more short term. Okay. So, and again, if I'm my 5-year vision board over here, and it's going to be $1 million. Okay. So my short-term vision board, I need to make the 100,000 first, because my identity, the $1 million, is so far away from what I've ever done before. Even with visualization, it's an uphill battle. But if, for example, making $500,000 in a year, that's pretty close to where I've already done. So that's closer for me to achieve. And so there's less resistance for me to create the Jared that can make $500,000. And then once I hit that, I could put 750, then 900 or $1 million or whatever it is, because you need to make it so your life, and that's the point too, as far as like vision boards too. I've seen people where they put in a billionaire. They put on like, I want to have the biggest house in the world. Like they're currently making $30,000 a year, and they put on a $30 million property on the vision board. Okay, well, I mean that looks nice on your wall, I suppose, but it's going to take a lot more than it's just so removed. Even with all the strategies, it's going to be really hard to kind of hit that. You have to be kind of, not to be saying you have to be realistic, but you just need to be steps. You need to have a stepping format into your visualizations and into your, and this is kind of helps with Bennett when he's talking about is like, how do I feel if I never experienced it? Okay, what have you done closer to that? What have you done? And then let's do that first. You can do that in the next month. You do the next week. Do that. Let's put that on your board. Okay, so you can start stepping things up. So if you want to have a vision board $1 million, but you've never made more than $50,000 a year, I would take off that $1 million, put it on your 5-year wall, or not even 5 year, just your bigger vision board, and I'd put down like, okay, in the next 90 days, I'm gonna make 40,000 in the next 90 days. You know, that's something that's like you're gonna take some action, you can do some stuff. That's something that's more realistic. Like, how would it feel once I get that $40,000 in there? Okay, and you have to be specific, very, very specific. When you're putting up pictures and images, let me make sure I'm checking the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Is there a particular format or strategy? I don't think there's, well, format wise, I think, yeah, it's kind of what I was saying before. You can put up formats. One thing I would insist is if you see, so, and I'm not going to show you my vision board, and I'll tell you why there's a reason for it. I'm not going to go into more details, but it's magnets on there. So I can just pull off, put it on, I can move them easily. If you make a vision board and you spent a week making it and you're just putting all the glue on it, you make the board and you put it on there, you're making it really hard to either replace it or to pull it off and to put a new one on there or whatever. Or because once you complete it, you need to pull it off. You need to have an achievement kind of thing, right? So easy on, easy off. That's the best, whether it's magnets, whether it's just tape, whatever it is. So you can remove. So then there's less resistance to your brain to actually like, oh man, but if I achieve, I know this sounds crazy, but if I achieve and make $100,000 in my bank account, I gotta go through that mess again as far as like pulling off the, getting a new board, and then I have to make everything out, then I have to reprint everything else out because I taped things underneath it or whatever, I glued everything over, and so you're just creating more resistance to yourself. So you want to have easy on, easy off. That's it. So magnets, tape, there's those sticky blue stuff that you put on it. You want to have your vision board have its own place, a designated place to have it. Okay. And that means something, right? So you're going to have a designated place, something where you're going to see it daily. And we'll talk a little more of that here in a second. And then you're going to have all of the visions, your things you want to do. So the pictures you have, if you can, you want it to be in first person. And there's reasons for that. We'll get to that here in a second. But those pictures that you're going to put up there, and even if it's, because I don't want you to spend a ton of time on this, you can put a just for the moment, like if you don't have pictures like this, or maybe you couldn't find the exact picture on the internet that's going to make sense for you, you can put on there, okay, Tesla, Model X, plaid, whatever, blah, 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 and then put it on there for now. So it's there, easy on, easy off, right? It's on there, it's there. And then, later, throughout, you can set a little time to kind of actually find the right one and next print it and then put it up, and then you can switch it out to the right one. But you have something, placeholders is fine. The reason why you want to do first person, because part of the steps I'm going to tell you guys to do is to do visualizations every morning, every evening. There's a reason why. But you're going to imagine yourself, you're going to imagine yourself, if I'm have a car in there, I'm not going to just imagine the car. I am going to imagine me in the car like a first person shooter game, right? So I can see my hands. I can see my hands feeling the steering wheel. I am going to imagine how that leather feels. I'm going to imagine how comfy the seats are. The air conditioner feels phenomenal. I am so excited. My wife is next to me. And I tell you, the nicer cars I drive, the more attractive I get, I swear. More money I make, the more attractive I get from, I don't know if it's a woman thing or whatever. But it feels that way at least. So if I can get a picture, so for example, if I'm going to visualize a, a car. I want to do a picture of obviously you can't have your hands in it a lot of times, right? But of like first person as if you're sitting in the car in the driver's seat or whatever. Okay. If you're visualizing if we're visualizing, oh yeah, so Ben asked if I can see. No, there's, and I'll tell you why. I'm not going to show you in detail mine. I'll tell you why. Um, but celebrate achievements, even small steps towards. Oh, I love that. Don't forget to. This is good. Nicholas has good comments here. Don't forget to celebrate achievements, even small steps towards your goal. 100%. And on that note, just real quick. I know I'm going tangents. That's going to be too long. Okay, anyways, so if it's like a vacation, it's like your dream vacation, whatever it is, and you need to be very detailed what it is. You need to have like a first person view of the room or whatever, or maybe like a picture of someone laying in the bed and what it looks like from it. Again, easier said than some of the things won't be able to do, so you're just gonna have a typical picture of the beautiful house or whatever. But if you can do first person, all the better. If you can, because here's the cool thing, AI, you can do so much cool stuff in Photoshop. If I want a Rolex on my vision board, I'm gonna take a picture of my hand. I take a picture of that, and I'm gonna get a Photoshop or have AI put a Rolex watch on it that I want, the exact make and model that I want. I put it on my hand as if I'm looking at it. So if I want to put on my vision board, I'm gonna have a picture of my own hand with the watch on it, and then it's gonna be a lot easier to visualize. Okay. Love it. This is good stuff, guys. All right, cool. So those are the type of pictures you're gonna put on it. And there's something else that you want to put in there. You shouldn't just be pictures. Okay? You need to have words on the very bottom. And this is something you guys want to write down. Okay? And it could be from this effect. You want to write today's date that you made it. So let's say you went through and you revamped it on January 5th. January 1st, 2024. Today, on January 5th, 2024, I am so grateful that I have /m blank. I am today on January 5th, 2024. I'm so grateful that I have $1 million in my bank account on or before X date. And the X date is a future date. So on or before. So there's some things in here that's important. Today's date, so on January, or today, January 5th, I can't even think, January 5th, 2024, I am so grateful that I have /I am, we are, whatever it is, right? That's the format, on or before X date. So you have today's date, so that now in the future, so tomorrow, I'm going to see an old date. So it's maybe tomorrow's going to be the 6th. I'm going to see the 5th. So it's already happened. Does that make sense? And then I am grateful that I have this thing. So I need to feel grateful that I have it right now, on or before the date. And so you have like almost like you're putting yourself a deadline of when this is going to happen. Because so many times we arbitrary on our goals, and so not specific. Like if my goal was to make more money, great. I find $1 in the street. I made my goal. There I go. So you need to be as specific as humanly possible on every single one of your goals and everything you're putting on your vision board, as specific as possible. Like if your dream vacation is going Cancun, you need to it needs to be what resort, what room are you staying in? What did you eat your first night? What was your first activity? That type of detail, and you need to have. And you can write some of that stuff down too, like on there, to kind of have that emotion, that image being created, all the better. But minimum, have that line in there that you're so grateful, and feel it, right? You're so grateful that I have $1 million in the bank account, that I have $100,000 that eagerly resides. And that's the thing too. You can add in there. You want to have the thing as if it wants to be in your bank account. It wants to be in your driveway. It wants you to live in it as in house. I'm fulfilled and thriving with $100,000 that eagerly resides in my bank account. that eagerly resides. That car wants to be my driveway. It's mine. It wants to be in it. Anything I'm doing to stop it is just hurting the car. I mean, it's kind of, I make light of it, but it wants to be my driveway. Those are the type of thoughts and emotions we need to have. And so when something wants to be in it, it's easier to invite it and just to receive it. Because here's the thing, because of our identities, a lot of times we don't receive those blessings. We're not in a spot to receive it, so we don't get it. And this is a little bit voodoo-ish, but there's a lot of things to it. If your identity is not willing to, that you've never made $100,000 in your life, Jared, and that was back before I was working at Walmart. There's no way you can start doing that, and I start doing that and made that in a couple months, doing a couple flips. Then it's like, okay, but if I didn't kind of, through at this time I was doing affirmations, if I didn't kind of create that identity of, yes, I am someone that accepts and receives, and so grateful that $100,000 went to my bank account. I am so grateful for that this happened, not will happen or can happen. Because if we're in the mindset of lack and like, oh, I want that $100,000, I want that $1 million, I want that car. If we're in a mindset of lack, we will get more lack. If we're so sick and tired of just being short every single month, and that's all we're focusing on is being the short and the feelings that you get when you are short on the month. If I'm so tired and frustrated because I can't land a deal. I'm using real estate as examples, right? And I keep feeling that emotion. Emotion is what happens to your future. That's what happens. Emotion. Everything is emotion. That's if you really want changes in your brain, change that emotion. Okay. So now we have. All right. I know I kind of went into tangents. Do we have any other questions on here that I've kind of talked about? And to answer, Bennett's question, if you can see the vision board, and I'll tell you why. On there are goals, there are shareable goals and non-shareable goals. There's been lots of studies where when someone puts a goal and they put it out there, and like, hey guys, and there's some benefit to this, but we'll kind of go over this a little bit. If my goal is to lose 50 pounds, as an example, I'll put it on Facebook, or I tell my close friend, or tell my wife, or whatever, hey guys, I'm gonna lose 50 pounds this in the next 6 months. And this is like science. Like when you tell someone a goal, and their response is like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome, good job for you, dude. I know you can do it. You're the man. You definitely can do this." We get endorphins in our brain. In fact, those are the same endorphins we would get as if we were achieving the goal. So we are getting those endorphins as if we are achieving the goal without actually achieving the goal. And therefore the motivation is dramatically reduced. The likelihood of you actually completing that goal because of those acclamations, because of the stuff that you're receiving, those endorphins that are coming in your brain, actually gets reduced. So there's certain things that I will share if it will help me actually reach my goal. So for example, if my goal is to help 50 people this year become real estate investors, that's a goal that I would want to tell everyone, because guess what? Maybe Bennett, whether he is in real estate or not, but he might know someone. Oh wait, you know what? My buddy Carol, she always wanted to get in real estate. I got to introduce you to. So by me sharing that goal, it actually can open doors for me to achieve it, right? But if there's goals where it's like, I want to have a certain amount in my bank account, I want to have, and I think sharing with your spouse and things like that, I think that's fine, because they need to be on board of what's going on and things like that. But that's why there's share goals and there's not share goals, So anytime you think about telling someone else a goal, and again, I think your spouse and things like that they're the exceptions, right? You need to have, they're the same team, okay? Before you share your goal or your dream, you need to ask yourself, if I tell this person my dream, is there a way that they can actually help me achieve it? If the answer is no, because like I want to make $100,000, okay, well, they're not an entrepreneur. They're not like, there's nothing in there where they can help you achieve that goal. There's no point of you saying it. Now, sometimes There is some count count me on your list of that 50. All right, yeah, dude, let's have a chat, man, for sure, like for real. Um, okay, so what's the difference? Okay, let's say Dean has a question. What is the difference between feeling it in our visualization and feeling it when we share with others? That's a great question. So when you're doing a visualization, it's as if you already had it. So those feelings are the feeling of progress and going towards that goal, and then actually achieving it. So when you're telling someone else your goal, it's like you're sharing the bridge to get there, and then they get the bridge, and so the bridge doesn't seem so attractive to walk down anymore. But the visualization, you're at the destination. That's the feeling. So it's still different feelings. I'm gonna feel different when I've lost the 50 pounds as opposed to when I'm actually making progress and hitting it. Does that make sense? So it's the bridge compared to the destination. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please, maybe I can try to re-explain, but do better. Okay, great question though. Honestly, I'm sure other people have the same question. Okay, perfect. Okay, and Phil, keep these questions coming, guys. This is great. Okay. Oh wow, I didn't realize the time of this. Freaking awesome. Okay, this is fun. I'm having fun, guys. Hopefully, you guys are having fun. Okay, so here's the routines you're gonna have. And by the way, speaking of your spouse, you don't put anything on your board that requires someone else's work or someone else's approval. So for example, let's say you put on there you want to have the perfect relationship with your spouse. You want her to do X, Y, and Z, and then you're gonna do X, Y, and Z. Okay, you're putting things on there. You can't control her or him. You can't control your spouse, but maybe what you should put on there is like the type of husband you are going to be, or now. How will you treat your spouse? What kind of things will you do for them instead of putting? Because here's the thing: if you put that on the vision board of like I want to have the perfect relationship, even though I can't control my wife, I can't. It's vice versa. She can't control me, and well, she does a pretty good job at that, but still, that's a whole nother story. But I can't control it, so it's not like it's very hard to actually achieve those type of things. You know what I mean? And then it opens itself for even more disappointment when whatever. Like I have the nicest spouse in the world, and the spouse isn't a very nice person sometimes. And I think that's true for everybody. But you know what I mean? As use an example, then it's like, oh man, she's mean to me today. I don't know. And so, but I can definitely control me. I control how I respond to certain things. I can control my emotions. And so that's the type of visions you put on there. You can have, if you really want to, you can do like a joint board. Like this is what we are as a couple going to work for. This is what we are going to accomplish. Versus, but have a, if you want to do that, it's fine. But make sure you have your own personal one. Okay. All right. Now for actually graded TD, how do we actually make this happen? How do we get this stuff actually working? So when there's 2 times in the day, one, okay. If you're thinking you're just gonna spend an hour and then make a vision board and then that's all you're gonna do, then you wasted an hour of your life. You made an art on your and usually they're not pretty art. You made an ugly art on your wall, and that's all you did. You have to build a ritual. And so there's our brains have brain waves. You guys all know that. So the 30 minutes before we fall asleep and 30 minutes after we wake up, there's a window where our brain waves are the same brain waves as someone that's in hypnosis. When they're in hypnosis, that's a pathway to get to the subconscious. And that's the person the subconscious is what we need to change. We need to change our identity in our subconscious. We need to change those. We can more easily write those achievements in our brain if we're in the hypnosis brainwaves. I can't even remember what there's a certain name for them. I don't remember what the name is. But so within that first half an hour that you wake up, you need to go to your vision board. And that's why I don't think you should have a gazillion things on there, but go to your vision board and look at each thing individually. and repeat that line. I Today, January 1st, I am so grateful that I have the X car in my driveway. I'm so grateful that that car eagerly awaits me in that driveway on or before X date. So you say those things to yourself, and and close your eyes, or look at the picture and just imagine the feeling, how it would be to drive that car. How do you think other people would react when they see you driving it, or when you're going on the vacation and you're holding your wife's hand and she's looks so beautiful? Feel that in your heart and make it real, and it'll start changing who you are. When you feel that gratitude of how grateful that God is, and whether you believe in Him or not, the universe, God, whoever you want to call Him, how beautiful He is in our lives, man, that's the emotion you need and have it in you of abundance and love and just being grateful. Grateful for everything we have. I'm grateful for the things that I have not received yet, but they're mine already. That car eagerly wants to be in my driveway. It eagerly wants to be there. Not money. It needs to be in my bank account. Not because I need it. The money needs it to be there. Have those emotions. And at first you're gonna feel weird if you haven't done stuff like this before, and you're like, you don't have to say it out loud. You can just be there by yourself and just look at it, And if you have a thing where maybe your spouse isn't quite into this type of stuff, put the vision board where you can go where you're going to be by yourself. Maybe it's in the bathroom. Maybe it's, I don't know, in the utility room. I don't know, wherever makes sense, where you can go there daily and visualize that and have it. And do that before you go to sleep. You're going to visualize each thing. It's going to spend a minute or two on each one, right? So you spend 15 minutes a day. If all it took me 15 minutes a day to manifest, to create these type of things. And again, you're not making these, they're not coming magical. You are changing who you are. You're changing to the person that would take the action to make that type of money. You're changing the type of person to have that type of relationship with your spouse. You're changing who you are, but it seems like magic. That's why people get things wrong. Okay. Yeah, I got a little emotional there. I don't apologize for that, but yeah, that wasn't expected. It was fun. Okay. So that's your daily routine. The morning and evening seem to be like that. Now here's the thing. If I'm grateful in the morning, I'm grateful in the evening, and the rest of the day I'm grumpy and feeling lack, do you think the ratio to that's going to help me create these goals in my life, achieve these goals? Who thinks so? If I'm just grateful in the morning and evening, that's all, and the rest of the day I'm kind of grumpy, how do you think I'm going to be? How do you think am I going to achieve those things? Now so the trick is, and this is easier said than done, and you're not going to be great at it at first, and that's okay. That's okay, but because you're changing the whole identity, man, and girls. Like, it takes some. It's not just like that, It takes a minute, but you'll be shocked how fast it does if you actually start doing it. How fast it actually does happen. So what I suggest is reminders of gratitude. Take moments and beats of and changing the meaning of things. If my wife yells at me, or doesn't yell at me, but if your boss yells at you, for example, and you're like, oh man, he hates me, I'm like, oh man, if you change that meaning, if someone yelled at me, I'm like, oh, I can either think like that dude's a dick, I'm terrible. I can be like, oh, you know what? That's amazing that my boss has so much faith in me that they know I could have gotten this thing right or done the thing that they wanted to their satisfaction. And he's so much faith in me that can happen, that when it didn't happen, he was kind of upset. He thinks of me that highly. Maybe how he acted wasn't great, but that's a great thing to have in a boss, that they believe in me so passionately. Now, is that a different emotion? Does that strike a different emotion or different meaning as opposed to, oh, my boss is a dick, I hate this place, this never seems right? That's a spiral. But if you change the meaning to what things happen to you, because you can't control what the boss can say to you. I mean, do your best as far as doing the job and everything, doing well, then you can influence what they say to you and how they treat you, absolutely, but you can't control it. And so if you change those meanings, and it's just it changes your reaction to it and your emotion to it. And if you have that gratitude for the things that you're about to receive, and then your gratitude for everything else, then your identity is really changing. And so it's a constant. It's okay. So I'm going to do one little thing in here before I open up for more questions. If you have any other questions on here, make sure if I didn't go over things that you, there's something else I'll go into. Anyways, but if there's something I haven't go over that you wanted me to go over, we can. I can say a little more than after one, so we're okay. But okay, yeah. So to supercharge, here's something I want you guys to do. I want you to pick one thing out of your vision board that you really, really want to achieve, that within the next 90 days. Okay? With that, I want you to duplicate that image and that saying on it. You're grateful for it. Let's just say a Tesla. That's what I did with my Tesla. Okay? So I had it on my vision board, and I recreated that same image, and I put it everywhere. I put it in the bathroom sink or the bathroom mirror. I put it on my visor of my car, so every time I turned down my crappy Walmart car, it would have the picture of the Tesla there. I put it everywhere I possibly could. I printed like 20 copies. My wife got kind of annoyed, so maybe got my kids would tease me. Look at Dad's car, and you know what? They stopped teasing me once they rode in it. Do you think they have a little different belief in what can happen and their accomplishments? Yeah, you bet, absolutely. And on full disclosure, I actually did sell that car for other reasons, but I was able to get it. That's the cool part. That's right. So, that's something I just recommend choosing one thing, focus on it, and here's the thing too, as you're easy on, easy off, right? As you're achieving things, I want you to keep those ones that you've actually accomplished, and put it into like a drawer, a journal, a stack of papers, whatever. And make sure your wife knows or your spouse knows, because my wife threw mine away. She said, "Oh, what's these?" She's cleaning like a stack of papers and just threw them all. Like, oh, honey. But the reason why I suggest to do that is because when you're feeling doubt in you, in maybe this process, you can go back and look at those things that you've done. There's a reason why I have. For example, these are the deals I've done in 20. Where's that? There we go. These are the deals I've done in 2020. Okay, so this is right in March, and everyone's saying that, oh, the market's terrible. You can't do anything. There's no way you should do this. I mean, I'd have lenders telling me like, dude, like, you should just chill out for a minute. And I was like, no, hell no. I'm gonna make some magic happen. And I kicked butt and created opportunities. So when I doubt myself, I look up. I'm like, yeah, I did that. Do the same thing with your vision board. Start looking at the stuff. And like, maybe it's just, at first it's just going to be one thing. Maybe it was a smaller thing, but you did it. You got it. And when you have those moments of doubt, remember, and I think we talked about it before, where it was like, yeah, I remember, I think Daniel said something about this, but yeah, when, like, I remember doing challenging things, but I don't remember when I'm starting a new challenging thing. It just becomes hard over again. You can look at those things. You have proof of your excellence, proof of your ability to achieve what was once unattainable, and having that proof. And again, just imagine if you don't have. I mean, honestly, you can think back in your personal life and maybe write that down. If you don't have like the stack of papers yet, or a wall of deals or whatever, write things down, because I guarantee each and every one of you done. We've already mentioned at the beginning of the call or this live. There's plenty of things, evidences of you doing something challenging, and you were really nervous about it, or you're really scared about it, whatever, and then you did it, and you felt a lot better. Write down those evidences of you being awesome, of you achieving what you couldn't think to achieve. I grew up. I was told as a young school age child that I'm dyslexic. I recently was diagnosed with ADHD, but I was told that I would not be able to. One of my teachers actually said, and no fault to her, because I was a little stinker, I was high energy, just being noisy. I was class clown. If people weren't looking at me, I felt like we got to change that. So she got mad at me and said, Jared, I hope you like hamburgers because you're going to be flipping hamburgers for the rest of your life. And so that's what I thought. I believed it. So when I was called to go to Mexico and learn Spanish as a dyslexic person, and not I at the time didn't think I had a great memory, it was daunting, but I was able to accomplish that. And so I think about that particular one of learning a language, going to a different country, staying. We all have these stories. You just they're different levels. Like, don't compare yourself to anyone, right? Achievement board would be a good idea to keep. Oh yes, absolutely. To keep you motivated and fill you with courage and keep going. Absolutely. If you maybe it's not a drawer, maybe just put it board from one to the next, But eventually, that achievement board is going to get pretty big. Another thing what you can do if to get your family on board, I do have achievement board, but it's a little bit different. I had my family, so I have some big goals that requires my time and energy. So I created achievement board, and I told my kids, okay, so when Daddy hits this benchmark, what do you want under this price range? So the first one that it's like worth, I think, is $1,000. The next one is $5,000 each, and so they've created their own vision board on Dad's achievement board. So when my stuff's not on there, it's just Dad does this, they get that. And so now suddenly my whole family is on board with me. I'm bribing them, but it also puts them in the practice of visualization, puts them in the practice of seeing what will happen in the future, and seeing that, like, what example is like he's working on it. He's failed so many times that I can't even count, but he's still gonna achieve and still gonna make that thing happen. And then now that they're supporting, like my 6-year-old or 7-year-old now, but she would like, Dad, did you make money today? Or did you make it? Did you hit your goal? Did you do your thing yet? And so she was very, very apt of getting me, or she'll see me sitting down like, Dad, shouldn't you be working right now? So I mean, she's 100% on board and encouraging me to reach the and yeah, her motives. She wants to get that thing that she put on there. Absolutely, why not? She would deserve it because she's motivating me. She's on board with what I want. So that's a good way to get your family on board at the same time. Easy on, yeah, okay. Easy on, easy off. Achievement board, gotta fly. Okay, yeah, awesome, guys. What other questions do you have before we call out? And those that are watching replay, if you still have questions, put it in the chat. I'll still respond after this live. We message. And if anyone wants to actually have like a conversation about real estate or even achieving your goals, in the comments I put in there, there's a link to my 9-minute call. We'll have a conversation. Like there's no sales pitch. This is we have a conversation about real estate. I'm always going to talk about real estate, but about real estate or whatever. If you have more questions about vision board or something like that, we can have that. So you can book some time, and if it makes sense for you, and then we'll have a chat. That's there too. Also, I believe you can actually, this is a new thing that Facebook has. There's like a notification thing. You can subscribe. There should be somewhere on there where you can subscribe, so send a message where you can notify subscribers, or excuse me, we subscribed on Messenger. So it should say, how do I get that on there? I want to get promotion messages from Jared Brenchley. If you click on that, yes, I can send you notifications of like when we're doing events. Like we do a lot of live events in Salt Lake City or online with a lot of cool stuff, whether that's real estate related or just like, mindset kind of stuff. And also I'm doing more of these live stuff that's going on. It's been a lot of fun. Phenomenal. Okay. Great, guys. Well, I appreciate you. Make sure to, if you got any value from this, like and share. Let's break the YouTube algorithm. I think more people, YouTube algorithm, Facebook algorithm. I think more people need to learn this and feel this is a great way to change people's lives. And it's not like that. It's not that crazy to actually do once you just commit and make that decision and have that. Yeah, I'm put stuff on the wall. Why not? Affirmation, all this stuff. So, okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So we're just going to call it off. And hey, I appreciate you all. You're amazing, and let's keep things going. Okay, love it. Awesome. Appreciate you guys. See ya.